A woman relocated to an unfamiliar city and unexpectedly forged a bond with a stray dog. Unaware of its profound impact, she gradually discovered the true magnitude of this friendship. Compelled by the prospect of her dream job, Laura found herself with little alternative but to embark on a cross-country move. After devoting nearly 8 years to her profession, she was presented with the coveted chance to take charge of her own team. Despite carefully considering the advantages and disadvantages of uprooting her life, Laura deemed the opportunity too remarkable to let slip away. With minimal belongings, she courageously relocated to the coastal region, marking the commencement of an entirely fresh chapter in her journey. She quickly acclimated to her new apartment, which was situated within a complex enveloping a sizable parking lot. The convenience of a mere 20-minute walk from her front door to her office delighted her. Filled with enthusiasm to make a positive impression, Laura dedicated her initial weeks in the city to surpassing expectations and going the extra mile in her job. Arriving early and departing late, Laura immersed herself in the process of adapting to the new office atmosphere. However, amidst her diligent efforts, there remained a significant aspect of her life that required attention. You see, she had left behind her cherished friends and family to embark on this journey to an unfamiliar city. As of yet, she had not encountered any new companions, leaving a void in her social sphere. She wanted to meet people and make friends, but being so new to the city posed a challenge. Perhaps that is why she was open to unlikely friendships like the one that changed her life. There was someone with whom Laura crossed paths with each and every day on her commutes to and from work. She would walk past a rough-looking stray dog who hung around the parking lot outside her building. When Laura first came across the dog, she was terrified. From a distance. The unkempt dog looked more like a wolf. Its size, the shape of its ears, and general posture all connoted wild animal to her. The fateful morning when she saw the creature, she froze on the spot. It was brisk and early and nobody else was out yet. Laura was simply on her way to the office when she felt a prickle in the back of her spine. She felt like she was being watched and glanced around to find a pair of eyes glimmering from the shadow cast by her building. There was something resting in that shadow. The animal blinked and Laura jumped, startled. The dog rose and fled, watching the mangy tail tuck between his hind legs. Laura realized she had encountered a stray dog and not a wolf. Heart pounding, she went on with her day and headed to work. Laura arrived home late that evening. She kept her eyes peeled and scanned all of the shadows in the parking lot to see if the stray had returned, but it was too dark for any lights to reflect a pair of eyes. Getting cold, Laura quickly abandoned her search and went inside. The next day around the same time, she crossed the parking lot as usual. Lo and behold, the stray dog was laying back in the same shadow as the day before. This time, Laura was calm and more prepared. She held on tight to her coffee, whispered hello to the animal, and then proceeded on her way to work. Soon this became routine. Each morning, Laura would pass by and acknowledge the dog, and each morning the dog would be there waiting. As the days and weeks went on, the two grew more comfortable and familiar with one another. Laura referred to the dog as Fang in her head, a vague reference to a novel she'd read as a child long ago. She could barely remember the plot of the book now, but the name Fangs stuck out in her head when she'd first met the dog and thought he was a wolf. So Fang he was. Laura was still struggling to find human companionship, but she felt less alone having one friend in the city. She started saving the last bite of her breakfast to bring out for Fang in the mornings. Fang would even let Laura coax him out of the shade when she brought him food. At this point, the friendship between Fang and Laura was growing more significant by the day. Fang began to wait in the parking lot in the evenings to see Laura home safely. Again, she tried her best to have a snack or a cuddle to bring the sweet stray. Laura and Fang continued on this routine as the days got longer and the weather got nicer. Laura was keen to spend more time outdoors. She was starting to have her full breakfast outside with Fang in the mornings and bringing home dinner to have with him in the parking lot in the evenings. Fang was still quite rough looking, but had gained some healthy weight. Thanks to Laura's generosity, she was able to periodically brush out some of the knots in Fang's fur and gently care for the creature. The tenants at the apartment complex grew familiar with Laura and Fang's daily parking lot meals. Through the beautiful relationship between woman and dog, Laura actually met and grew friendships with a bunch of the people in her building. That is how she found out that Fang had been living outside the apartments for his whole life. While most of the tenants enjoyed Fang, his imposing and wolf-like figure was frightening to some others. For that reason, nobody ever took the dog in and adopted him. But Fang was still loved, and especially after Laura's good example, many of the tenants interacted with him more. It was as if he was a pet owned by the entire complex. Still, nobody could anticipate just how incredible Fang would turn out to be. One day there was a slight change in Laura's daily routine. She usually returned home at dinner time, and so Fang was waiting in his regular spot, excited to greet her when the sun began to set, and there was still no sight of Laura, though Fang became antsy. He barked and whined so much that another tenant of the apartment complex became concerned when they passed by. Where was Laura? Well, she had been working months on a project that was just about to launch. It was the night before the big day, and Laura stayed at work late to make sure everything was set up perfectly for the following morning. She was running late for her usual dinner time with Fang, but knew the stray would be okay if he had to wait a bit longer for her. In the mood to celebrate, Laura went a different route home from her usual track. She stopped by a burger shop and got herself a celebratory meal as well as an extra beef patty for Fang. Walking with her takeout bag, Laura rounded a corner to head towards the apartments. That night she felt something she had only felt once before. Her neck prickled and her skin broke out into goose flesh as her brain sent out warning signals. Laura was being watched. She scanned the street she was walking down in search of Fang, but her furry friend was nowhere to be seen. Frightened, Laura sped up her pace and made a beeline for home. Someone was walking behind her, she realized, and they had sped up to keep up with her. Laura's heart began to pound as she saw a truck approach quickly from down the road. Hoping for assistance with the person pursuing her, Laura's anticipation grew, but the situation intensified as the truck approached, carelessly skidding on the road. Laura's ears filled with the sound of rushing blood as she noticed the intoxicated occupants hurling offensive remarks at her. The person behind Laura caught up, and the severity of her predicament became apparent. She found herself surrounded, trapped in a dire situation. However, in a remarkable turn of events, Fang appeared and performed an extraordinary act. Unnoticed amidst the commotion caused by the drunken men, Fang approached, unseen and unheard. In a critical moment, Fang, snarling and barking, leaped between Laura and the man reaching for her. Shocked, Laura recalled Fang's true nature as Wolf-Flack Fang. Intimidated by Fang's ferocity, the men backed down, retreating to their truck and disappearing in an instant. Overwhelmed, Laura fell to her knees while Fang rushed to console her, nuzzling her with his snout and licking away her tears. Encouraged to stand, she made her way home, but this time, instead of bidding farewell, she invited Fang inside. Fang had saved her, prompting Laura to adopt him as a gesture of gratitude. Who could have guessed that her first friend in the new city would become her lifelong companion? What an unexpected turn of events. What are your thoughts on providing food for stray animals without actually adopting them? Have you ever found yourself rescued by an improbable ally during a frightening situation? Share your experiences with us in the comments section below.